Hello, everybody. Okay, so today we are going to be doing our very first ever Fiberside chat. So thank you so much for joining me today. And basically just to give you a little bit of an introduction as far as what this is all about. As a member of the wool and fiber arts community, I thought that it would be a really fun way to get to know some of the vendors, the teachers, the artists, all of the amazing talent that we have in this group. And so I put out a call to all of the vendors for the month of February to see who would be willing to be my guinea pig and my special first guest for this event. So I'm so happy to be able to introduce Katelyn Dunn of Dunn Spunn. So she's going to be with me today. And not only that, but it is also Valentine's Day. So let me make sure that I can get both of us on screen. And I don't know, there we go. Okay, I think now we are both on screen, so that's good. And I think we're both unmuted. Wait, now I lost you. Hang on, let's go back. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I can hear you. You can hear me. Hopefully we're good there. Okay, so I hope everybody that is watching us can also hear us as well. We got a couple of people greeting us and saying hello, good morning. So whatever time you are watching this Fiberside chat, whether you're watching it live with us or in the replay, welcome wherever you are in the world as well. And so basically the way that this little interview segment is going to work, I have a couple of questions prepared that I was going to ask Katelyn. So we'll get to that. But if you have any questions, then I will read them from the chat, okay, so that I can then ask them. So drum roll for our very first thing. Okay, so first of all, welcome, and thank you for joining me this morning or afternoon.
Thank you. It's so exciting, and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you to you as well, And so because today is Valentine's Day, I thought it would be fun to start off the questions really easy, and we'll talk about maybe some of the things that you love. And then the last question might be a little bit of a challenge. So I'm going to save it for the end. But so the first question that I have for you, so you're going to be a vendor for the February Fiber sale. And so I wanted to know from you, what do you love the most about the fiber arts?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I would probably have to say, aside from all of the color and the texture and the sparkle, I love the community. I've met so many amazing friends and people and teachers through all of this, and especially through WAFA, it's opened like so many doors to people all over the world. But I would have to say the community. I've got lots of really great fiber friends.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. And, it's not just in the virtual space, right? But as fiber artists, we connect with people when we go to guild meetings or when we go to, fiber events like fiber festivals. So I know that there's a sense of connecting to people that when you know that they're a knitter or a spinner, there's kind of this sensation like, oh, they're my people, right? And I think someone had asked the question, if you don't have a fiber community like a spinners guild or whatever, how do you start one? And jokingly I said, you take a fleece and you pass it to someone and you ask them to smell it, and if they like it, then they're your people, right? So do you belong to any guilds, or do you have any people around you that you do fibers with?
So there is sort of a spinning guild near me, but the closest one is about an hour away. Okay. So I'm not active in that, but I do have a couple local fiber friends. My friend Kathy Smay, she's also been a vendor on WAFA. She comes over and we have fiber days, or I'll go over to her place and we'll have a dye day. She's got like a really nice dye kitchen set up. So that's a lot of fun. And I'm just getting some of my family members interested in fiber arts. My mom, after years of trying to that's your thing, she's finally getting into spinning. She was a knitter beforehand, but she's interested in spinning. And my uncle JT, if you've seen some of my videos, he's very excited about fiber arts now too. So he's on a drop spindle and having a blast.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So
community.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because, you feel like you belong in this space when you meet your people, but then there's also that love and the joy of bringing more people in, right? So it's not, I would say, in high school, it's not like a clique where it's exclusive. It's more like the more the merrier. And I think that's something that I love about the fiber arts too. So I'm definitely with you on that. So I was going to say then, what do you love about WAFA? And so I know you talked about community, but is there anything else that you feel that you love about it? Because I know there's so many different facets and things going on in the group.
Yeah, I love show and tell. And so getting to see what everybody is working on is super cool. And then it's even more special because when you get to see your own items. So I make bats. And so to see when people share what they're spinning with it or weaving with what I started with, it's so cool to see how it transforms. And I really love the palette of the month because we get to see how one photo, all the interpretations between all the different fiber artists is really cool to see how we're all looking at the same thing, but we all have a different take on what it is. So they're just a couple things that I like about it too.
Yeah, no, I agree with you too. Definitely, as a maker, when you make a bat, it seems like if it's going to leave your hand that it's done, but really it goes on and it takes on a whole new life of its own, right? So another maker is basically using something that you made to make something that gets passed along, whether if they're making yarn and then they pass it along for someone else to make. So it's interesting how it goes from like a shepherd's hand to your hand, and off, and so that it doesn't have just one life of enjoyment, like the shepherd could enjoy growing the fiber, but then you get to enjoy processing it, and then other people get to enjoy using it. So it definitely is a gift, I think, that keeps on giving, or like an object that doesn't just have a one-time use and then it's finished. So that is definitely something that I agree is a totally cool facet about the fiber arts. Okay, so now I have some this or that questions for you. So when you're making your bats, right, are you for superwash or do you prefer non-superwash? If you were going to pick the two, which one do you love using more?
I prefer non-superwash. I like to be able to felt my bats too. So I like having, yeah.
Yeah. So did you ever try making bats with superwash before, or is it like the texture of it, like how it's kind of like slippery, or?
As a knitter, I enjoy superwash.
Okay.
But I love to, like I said, I love to be able to felt my bats, whether it's wet felting or needle felting. And so having that in there kind of makes it a little more of a challenge, even if it's just Definitely. Like a little bit. So I would prefer non-superwash. Plus, a lot of my fiber I'm getting directly from a farmer. And so sheep are non-superwash.
they're just naturally dead. Well, what's interesting was that I tried for the first time, I think it was maybe last year, spinning some down fiber for socks. And I was really surprised that even though it wasn't superwash, it still had the capability of going through the washing machine and not shrinking, just because that's kind of inherent in that type of fleece. So it's interesting. You don't necessarily need the chemical process of superwash to be able to enjoy some of the benefits, or you could just pre-shrink things too. There's always that route you can go, right? Okay. So the next this or that for you, especially as a bat maker, are you team Angelina Sparkle? I know you hinted that a little bit earlier, or are you like, no, keep the glitter away?
So my life's motto is glitter is mandatory.
Okay.
So I am team Angelina all the way. Nice. I've had custom order requests and I've turned them down because they asked for no sparkle. I just can't bring myself to make a bat without sparkle.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think I totally agree with you there too. That, just even a little bit, goes a long way. It's like salt. It just kind of makes everything taste a little bit better. So definitely I'm with you on the whole team Angelina. Okay, so this is my last question. And then I can check the comments to see if there are any questions for you. But in addition to today being Valentine's Day, I also saw that it was actually cream-filled chocolates day. So I'm going to ask you, are you team chocolate that's filled with stuff, or are you a plain chocolate person, or not at all?
Oh, I really love dark chocolate. If we've got chocolate and caramel together though, I'm definitely going for that.
Yeah. Okay. See, so like I think straight down the line, I've agreed with you on everything. So as a mom, for anyone that's a parent out there, maybe you can relate to this, but it's really important that when you bring chocolate into the house, you have a place where you can stash it where the kids don't know about it, because they will get it. And so in my secret stash, I have the dark chocolate caramel. So cheers to you. I agree with that. Okay, so I'm going to go and check out the comments and let's see if there are any other questions. Let's see here. So you just got a lot of fan love, everyone saying that they love you and they love your work. So one person said, I would love to know what kind of drum carder do you use?
Yeah, so I have an Ashford wide. I just became an Ashford dealer this year. So, and I'm in love with their products. I've been using their products for years. So,
okay.
Yes, it's the extra wide one.
Sounds good. Now, is that a motorized kind or is that a hand crank?
It's a hand crank, yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason that you prefer the hand crank one over a motorized one?
Well, one, I'm afraid of technology. I'm not very good at it. And two, I do like having the control with the hand crank, but I am currently doing a little bit of research into an electric carder, just so I have options for days when I'm not feeling well enough to stand up at the drum carder. But
yeah,
I think I'll love the manual drum carder.
Yeah, and I think the difference is because, you know, obviously people think that with it being motorized, you're going to get to go faster and you're going to produce more, which in one sense, that's true. But it also depends, too, on the fiber that you're putting in, right? So if you put in a big wad of fiber into a hand crank, immediately you get that tactile feedback in your hand, knowing that that's too much fiber that's going in. But if you're using an electric one, you may not realize that you're putting in too much, and it can obviously just stop working and, you know, burn the motor out. But if you put too much in and it still goes through, there's like that like level, you know, I guess like of a deli. I'm thinking of like how you like your ham sliced or turkey sliced at a deli, right? Yeah. So you want it to go in like shaved thin, you know, like translucent. But if you put it in where it's not like a ham steak thickness, but just, you know, maybe a medium slice, I don't know what the medium slice meat term is called, but when you put it in and it's just a little bit too much for the drum carder, what can happen is you put like neps in unknowingly, right? And so I think that can be a frustration maybe that the newer people to drum carding might experience, wondering why the fiber they got, that it seemed good, you know, initially, why now does it have all of these neps in it? So yeah, definitely the hand crank first lets you know what that sweet spot is of too much fiber. So okay, I'm with you there. So let's see. So someone said, I love sparkle, but I'm concerned about releasing those fibers into the environment. So that's an interesting, you know, stance on it. So like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, if I'm being completely honest. I feel like there's a time and a place for everything. And I completely understand when people have that sort of feeling, or even if they're just not a glitter person, I understand that as well. So
yeah, it is hard to strike that balance, I think, between knowing, you know, and being aware of the fibers we use, even with dyers, right? So the chemicals that are going to go back into the water, and all of that. But I think, you know, for the most part, if you are being mindful of what you're creating and the fact that you're selling something that people are going to make something that's handmade, for the most part, I would like to think that those things are not going to make it into the garbage or the trash, or, you know, in that sense, but probably the process of producing them, right? Because the Angelina fibers, those are synthetic, so they're not a natural fiber, and therefore it requires chemicals and energy, which is very different than the grass and the sun that the sheep need to produce their fleece. So there's always a trade-off as far as like the fibers going in. But you know, I'm kind of with you too in that, you know, maybe we don't have chocolate cake for breakfast every day, but once in a while, you know, like just once in a while, to go that path. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So someone said, what is your fiber goal of the year or a new technique in the fiber world you would like to learn?
Oh, that's a good question. My fiber goal for the year, okay. I've decided right in the spot what my fiber goal
Right
is
now.
right now. I've decided I'm going to be selfish and I want to make more things for myself this year. Last year, I was really focused on and having a blast doing it, making things for WAFA or other people. But I think this year I'm going to treat myself a little bit and I'm going to let myself enjoy some of the bats that I make and spin.
Nice. So,
Yeah.
what would you say the ratio or percentages of time from like being the maker for sale versus yourself? Like, how do you navigate that? Because I know we also have, vendors and fiber producers that are watching this, hopefully. And the fact that when you love something so much and you decide to make that leap into doing it as a business, there's also that trade-off that either you're getting burnt out from doing it so much for other people that you don't even want to like look at it or think about it, like if you work in I don't know, I make all these analogies with food, but if you work in an ice cream shop, eventually you just get sick of it, right? Or that you want to have that time and you don't. So how do you find that balance?
So if it's a goal, that means I haven't done a very good job with it yet. But one thing that I've always sort of done is I've always kept knitting as my hobby. I try not to sell anything that I've hand knit. It's either for myself or it's a gift. And then spinning, I've kind of cut off my custom spinning orders. So if I make a yarn and I decide I want to sell it, I still got to enjoy that process, not thinking, oh, this has to be for sale or it has to look a certain way or whatever. So that is kind of one way, is like keeping certain aspects of the process special for me, because most people just like the bats anyway. So having spinning or knitting separated out as just me time, I think will help definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there too. Especially the part about where in the process of selling the yarn do you come into it, right? Because if you're making something for someone else, there's almost like an element of work kind of, in a commission. But when you're doing it and you love it, and then you realize that, it would be better, like with your bats, going out into the world and making someone else happy, then there's almost, I would say, like not even the extrinsic part of getting paid for your time and your labor and all of that, but there's also the joy of knowing that what you're making, again, someone else is going to enjoy. And so it almost makes it like feel okay maybe to go back out into the world and not stay with you. But when you feel like you have to do it for someone else, then yeah, those are the things that I kind of avoid and, begrudge and all of that. But if you're enjoying the moment for yourself, I definitely think that the love and the energy that goes into it is also going to enhance the products that you make too, because of that headspace that you're in when you're creating them. Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions or comments. So someone wishes that we get big heart-shaped Valentine candy boxes of chocolates.
Aww.
So thank you for that. Okay, so another question came up. How long have you been making bats for?
So I started knitting in the 6th grade, and that is what started the whole addiction. And I started carding not long after I got my first drop spindle, which would be when I was in college. So I think it would be like 2010 or 2011. And I was going to the spinning guild that was near me at the time. And the ladies just kind of like adopted me in, and it was so special. And I kind of inherited the group's drum carder with the knowledge that someday I would get to pass it on to somebody else. And that was just really, really special. So that's kind of how I started. And my very first sheep to finished project was actually one of my honors classes in college. It was just like a writing assignment. And so I started with the sheep. My friend had a pet sheep named Heidi. And so I collected some wool from her, And I learned as I was going through the process and writing my experiments down, and it was really special.
Wow, yeah, and that sounds like an amazing experience, in having the guild, see your potential, right? Because again, you were talking about the beauty of community, and the fact that what we're doing is something that someone taught us because it got handed down or passed down knowledge wise, and it's not something that most people, for the most part, learn just from a textbook, right? There's usually some type of human interaction that occurs in learning how to spin, which maybe might be a little bit different than with knitting. I don't know, maybe people's experiences are different, but I didn't know any spinners, before like spinning, where I was like observing people doing, and then like painting or something like that, where people paint, but I didn't realize people actually spun yarn. So I'm curious, because you said in college you got your first drop spindle. What was it about making that jump from knitting to spinning that kind of set that switch off for you?
Yeah, so I was working part-time at a yarn shop.
Oh,
and and there was a one particular customer who would come in all the time, and she would wear the craziest, coolest sweaters, and some of it would have commercial yarn and some of it would have some of her hand spun. And so just like talking to her a little bit really got me interested. And so then the next fiber event that I went to was really geared towards knitters, but there was one booth that had drop spindles, and I scooped it up. And then about a week later, I was on my way to another fiber festival because I needed a spinning wheel.
Yeah, it's interesting, with spinning, it's kind of a gateway, to everything else. Like you can be a knitter, and for the most part, you don't, veer off the path, right? Like if you're a knitter, you kind of stay there, and if you're a crocheter, you stay there. But I think once you dip your toe in the water of spinning, then it becomes, well, now that I have yarn, what do I do with it? And then all of these like pathways open up, and that's when it becomes dangerous. So it's interesting how people get into spinning, whether if you start off with the flock and then you're like, hey, what do I do with their, fiber? Or if you come at it from a, like a perspective like you, like, oh, I see this really cool yarn, I want to know how I can get it. But definitely once you hit that, touching the spindle and touching the fiber and seeing it transform, there's such a magical experience, I think, that happens, that, yeah, the jump from spinning from a spindle, because you think, well, I don't want to invest in a wheel, to, okay, like, what is the best wheel should I get? Because, now I've been bitten by the bug. So yeah, it's definitely a cool way that you found out about it. And I'm happy that you are now part of the community because of that lady's cool sweater. So I hope she knows that she ignited that fire in you too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to see if there's anything else. Okay, so someone said, what would you tell someone who wants to start making bats or rolags? How do you get wool to blend with? Thanks, I love your work.
Aw, that's so sweet. So if you can find a guild near you, that's my first recommendation for anybody who's just getting into blending with fibers, because chances are at least one of them knows a farmer. And then going from there, if you can get local wool or support other fiber artists, I think it's always an extra special thing, because like you said, going from hand to hand, the story of the fiber. And so that would be my first step, is try and find either a local guild, or if you have a local yarn shop, sometimes they will know about where to get some fibers. WAFA is a great event to get some fibers. I drop a lot of money every month watching those fiber artists. They just have so many beautiful things. So yeah, I would just say, as much as you can, try and find local farms, local spinning guilds and yarn shops, or support other fiber artists that you really love and admire. And again, it's just like building that community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are excellent, places, like you said, to start. And with you working in the yarn store, even if you don't know if there's a local guild, you can search online. But like you said, your local guild is maybe about an hour away. I still think, even if it's an hour away, it's worth going to like one meeting, because then you can always connect with them online or in other ways. Like I know some guilds will have like a Ravelry forum or a Facebook group, you know, so they do continue that relationship building even outside of those meetings. But I know that when I first went to my local guild, it became such a like special sacred day that like I couldn't schedule anything if it was on a guild day. Like guild days like preceded like everything. It was like a birthday party every month where you got to hang out with your friends and do fun things. And it's such a rich resource, right? Because you have the people that have been doing it for years and years and years. And then, you know, sometimes even in the guilds, they might sell stuff. So then you can like ask them questions too. And I feel like people in a guild are very generous. They're generous with their knowledge, their experience, and they're always so excited to see someone that's excited about the craft too. So I definitely think that's a fabulous resource and a great suggestion. Okay, so let's see. So someone said weaving was my gateway. See, yeah, we all have gateways that open the flood doors, and yeah. Okay, so someone said, what kind of sheep does the shepherd you work with have?
So right now, she has a lot of rescued alpacas, and she also has some Romney sheep. And most of her animals were rescues, whether it was somebody got a sheep or an alpaca thinking, I can just own a sheep or alpaca, and then realizing, oh, this is an animal that needs a lot of attention. And so she kind of swoops in and saves the day with those sort of things. So mostly Romney, some alpaca, some Cotswold and Corriedale. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a nice range of textures and, you know, just like the hand of the fibers, like the way that they feel and like the lengths of them and all of that. But that's great that, you know, seeing again, just talking about that, knowing not only where the fiber comes from, but knowing that like you're supporting someone that is helping animals, you know, that just enhances the quality of the product for me, you know, because if there's 10 different, you know, bats that have like the same ingredients in it, I want to know, okay, what makes this one special? And so the fact that like you're helping out these, you know, animals have the life that they deserve, I think that's phenomenal. So like, cheers on that. Okay, yeah. So let's see. So then someone said that they found you on TikTok in the beginning of January. They got a drop spindle, and then last week they got a Kiwi 3. So they said that the jump was insane, but I'm hooked. So that's awesome. Yes, and I'm so glad. Thank you, Andrew, for bringing up TikTok, because I know that in the pre-interview rounds when I was talking to Katelyn, I was so fascinated by you know, the experience of going onto TikTok. And, you know, when you think of, well, for me anyway, when I think of TikTok, I think of, you know, maybe teenagers in high school that are, you know, sharing silly videos about, you know, whatever with each other. So can you just talk to us a little bit about what your experience with TikTok was like and your relationship with it?
Yeah, TikTok has been a game changer for me, really. But I kind of am thinking of it as an extension of like the WAFA community or a spinning guild, that sort of thing, because like I just feel like I've been given so much fiber love over the years, and people have just imparted what they know and shared tools and fibers with me. And so I think of TikTok as a way for me to kind of give back. And so like, and it's silly, all I'm doing when I go live is mostly I'm just standing at my drum carder, and I've got my camera facing down, and people are just watching the colors. And usually people are kind of in and out, so I'm repeating myself over and over. This is a drum carder, we're making a bat, it turns into yarn. But I think it's cool because like Andrew, he maybe didn't know that that was something he would be interested in, and he just kind of came across it one day on TikTok. And now he's got a full-blown hobby, and you never know what's going to take you, because mine just started as a hobby as well. And now here I am with Dunn Spunn being my full-time job. So I'm so blessed and so grateful for it. And to be able to, I love teaching. I've always loved teaching. I did preschool arts. I was a certified Montessori teacher. And so being able to teach fiber, something I'm really passionate about, is always exciting as well. So, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of people on TikTok consider it like an ASMR sort of thing. Seeing the colors and hearing the brushing noises, I think, is what pulls them in. And then once they start to understand what's actually going on, they think, oh, that's really interesting, and might need to get a drop spindle.
Yeah, and you know, it's fascinating to me too, because you know, all type of social media is you know, digital, right? Like we don't have that tactile you know, capability to actually like touch and feel what the fiber looks like. So the fact that even just the visual of the fiber preparation, you know, going into it and all of that is definitely very mesmerizing, you know, watching the spinning wheels spin or the repetitive motion, you know, even watching knitting or someone crocheting or weaving, there's this almost like a hypnotic kind of quality to it. And
yeah.
then, you know, when you have someone that's educating you about what they're doing, then that's just that double layer of awesome. So I'm definitely going to go and check out some of your TikTok videos. You know, I'm so excited to see like what that's all about, and the world of fiber arts, and yet another rabbit hole to go down. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as your vendor spot, it's going to be on Saturday, February 26th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Correct?
That is exactly right.
So if you would like to come and check out some of the bats that Dunn Spunn will have and all of the goodness, that they have to offer, that is when you can do so. And if you've enjoyed this Fiberside chat, I'm going to be interviewing Marjorie Erickson from Opalescence Studio, and that will take place on February 26th, so next Monday at, wait, no, sorry, that's when her sale is, my bad. Wait, whatever next Monday is, the 21st or whatever it is, yeah, so it's the 14th, the 21st. Got it, the 21st. And I think we're going to go on at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, but I did create the new event. So feel free to go ahead and, you know, follow it so that you get the reminder about it. But I really appreciate you so much, Katelyn, for coming on and being my first interviewee. I really like learned so much from you, about you. You have a marvelous energy, and I can tell that the love that you have for the fiber arts totally comes through in the products that you create, and you're a breath of fresh air. So I thank you so much again for joining me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. What an honor.
All right. So if anyone has any other questions, you know, feel free to tag either of us in the comments if you're watching the replay. If you have more questions, I'm sure Katelyn would be happy. I don't want to speak on your part, but maybe you'd be happy to come back and answer any questions if you're watching the replay. Yeah, so thank you, everybody. I hope you have a love-filled day. Know that as people in the group that we love you, and we love having this community. And yeah, so happy Valentine's Day, and have a good rest of your day, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.